What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, back with another week zero recap, man. And we got to go out to LA, man. We had UCLA versus Hawaii in the Rose Bowl, and UCLA made a huge statement with a blowout win over the Rainbow Warriors, man. And this was Chip, coming into the weekend, guys. The Bruins had not won a non-conference game under Chip Kelly. So a lot of people were skeptical. There was a lot of positive momentum, for Todd Graham's team, and everyone thought that, Hawaii could be a trap game, and what was UCLA going to look like this year? Well, guys, it was pretty much a wrap as the first, as like the first quarter kind of winded down with a 24-3 lead. The Bruins had a dominating running game, an opportunistic defense that was flying around the football. And on the flip side, it was just all the problems were just huge for Hawaii as they looked disoriented, overwhelmed from the kickoff, and they just never seemed to be able to rebound from that huge, overwhelming swing in momentum. And I want to start out by giving a huge shout out to Zach Charbonnet, who showed why he was the highly rated recruit and one of Michigan's top backs while he was there. Charbonnet had 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half, in which 2 of them happened in the first quarter. He only got 6 touches, guys, but 3 of them went for touchdowns, and he had over 100 yards rushing while he was averaging almost 18 yards per carry. Charbonnet really put on a show, guys. He was, a lot was made about Brenton Brown. What was the run game going to look like now that Demetric Felton is off to the NFL? Well, Charbonnet answered that early, often, and he was running so violently. He was so explosive, and I was so impressed with how he played this weekend. And if Charbonnet can continue this and become a huge factor next week when LSU comes to LA, this game could be huge week 1 for UCLA if they can, somehow keep it close and possibly pull the upset over LSU. And I really think the Bruins found that they have a solid 1-2 punch at running back. Brenton Brown showed that he can be the workhorse if needed, which could really help Chip Kelly establish the run game, as the season wears on, because he can go with the hot hand. Brown, on the flip side, had 13 carries, 78 yards, and a touchdown, averaged about 6 yards to carry. So when you look at Brown and Charbonnet and what they bring, if this Bruins offensive line can continue what they did this weekend, we could see one of these historic Chip Kelly running games, really be established out there in LA. And, I was very high on the Bruins in our Pac-12 preview. I had them finishing second in the division. They were my sleeper team. If they have a run game and an offensive line performance like they did this past weekend, UCLA is going to be a very, very tough team to beat in the Pac-12. And I want to move to, what went wrong with Hawaii, guys. I mean, to say the least, they kind of underwhelmed in every aspect of the game. They failed to establish the rushing game. The offensive line greatly underperformed in both the pass blocking aspect and run blocking. They only averaged 1.2 yards per rush and only 26 rushing yards. And one of their rushes was for 16 yards. So they could not get any movement. They got outplayed by UCLA defensive line that a lot of people weren't sure how it was going to fare in the run game. They looked dominant this weekend. They made their impact known. And this UCLA defensive line looked faster, more explosive, stronger. And this Hawaii offensive line could have problems with this, what they churn out, because the offense was supposed to be the sure thing for Hawaii. And now you're looking at it and it's like, man, they got whooped all weekend long. And then Chevin Corderio at quarterback really was inefficient, didn't take advantage of what I thought was a question mark on the back end of this UCLA defense. There was a huge question mark. It was, for me, really the safety spots. And he only had 200 yards passing. His yards per attempt was abysmal, guys. 4.7, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs, and only a 10 QBR. And for me, the biggest thing that I saw was how UCLA was able to keep Corderio under pressure most of the day. The offense, and it for me, when you look at this Hawaii offense this weekend, given they couldn't run the ball, it allowed UCLA to pin their ears back and really come after Corderio. And for much of the day, they were able to get pressure with just four, and therefore it threw the entire offense of Hawaii off balance. And they never really could establish their rhythm throughout the day. And so it really hurt what Hawaii does best, which is keep that up-tempo approach, spread the ball out, get the ball to the playmakers' hands. They stopped the run game, so you didn't have any playmakers there. And then also Corderio really struggled getting the ball into his playmakers' hands because the Bruins were able to get pressure on him by not really blitzing much of the day. On the defensive side of the ball, though, for Hawaii, they looked extremely rusty. Poor tackling, poor execution all throughout the game. When you look at that one Charbonnet touchdown, he broke like 5 or 6 tackles, it felt like, on that play. And it really just set the tone early that UCLA could just do what they want. They missed over 10 tackles in the game. There were some out of position moments, lack of execution, and it just allowed the Bruins to really take full control of this game and get out of hand quickly. Look at the special teams issue. They had a huge punt block, and when you look at the score 44-10, it really could have been even more than that. And Hawaii scored late, but they also just had dumb mistakes. And it's something that this Todd Graham team didn't do last year, but it really killed the early momentum. Like the first punt they had, the snap was low, and instead of letting the ball hit and kind of corral it, the punter took a knee when he got the ball, which put the Bruins inside the red zone for their first drive of the day, a quick 7-0 lead, and then things just kind of spiraled out of control from there. The one thing I do want to say, though, and I don't want to call them out too bad, but I wasn't extremely impressed with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I know he didn't have to do much because the run game was so electric. The run game was doing its thing. But for me, I wanted to see him take better command and control of this offense, because when a big game comes like next weekend, LSU is going to require him to go out and make some big plays. And this week he was fairly inefficient with his passing, and I've really thought he could have done better overall in what he did, what this offense gave him. Now, it could be that Chip Kelly wanted to keep it simple due to LSU coming into town next week, and he didn't want to show too much. He didn't want to give them a bunch of film, and they knew they could outman Hawaii on the ground, which they did. In all fairness, they absolutely just ran it down their throats. But for me, Dorian Thompson-Robinson to open the game, super, super inefficient, and he never really kind of caught his rhythm. 10 for 20, only 50% completion percentage, only 130 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, he didn't have any turnovers. He wasn't super dynamic with his legs, but for me, what I want to see next for UCLA is Dorian Thompson-Robinson taking control of this offense and showing the playmaker and showing the progression that he showed late last year in terms of accuracy, ball placement, and just being the focal point of this offense, because he's going to be the key to what UCLA does down the stretch this year and really being that sleeper team. It's all great that Charbonnet and Brown really commanded the offense today. The offensive line played pretty well, but I want to make sure Dorian Thompson-Robinson takes that next step in his accuracy. And we're going to get a lot of those questions answered next week when LSU rolls into town to face the Bruins. And that's the only thing, is like I'm a little bit concerned with his accuracy, and I really didn't love what I saw out of the passing offense this week. And it could just be that they had a simplified game plan, but a 6.5 yards per attempt average, a 50% completion percentage is not what I want from a quarterback the caliber of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So that was the one critique I had about UCLA. I do want to say the defense looked outstanding. If the defense can fly around, make plays, rush the passer, shut down the run like they did, stay disciplined, then I really love UCLA's chances down the stretch. That was one of the best performances I've seen from their defense. And I know critics and fans are going to say, well, it's just Hawaii, Zach. Why are you giving them all the credit? Well, they haven't been able to do this ever under Chip Kelly. They were getting handled by Cincinnati, by San Diego State. So this wasn't just like a give me win for UCLA. They went out there, really proved it. And this was one of the best, most complete performances I've seen from a Chip Kelly UCLA team. Very impressed this weekend, a huge 44-10 win. Now, what's next for these teams? I've already mentioned UCLA. LSU's coming into LA next week in one of the most anticipated matchups of week one. And Hawaii hosts Portland State next Saturday. And should be a nice bounce back game for the Rainbow Warriors. But UCLA's got a huge test. The defense looked apart. The running game and the offensive line looked apart. Dorian Thompson-Robinson just has to take his game up to the next level next week. But we'll be previewing that game later this week, guys. I'm so pumped for UCLA versus LSU. But listen, if you're new, subscribe now. I appreciate the support. Turn on your post notifications and like the video, man. Give this video a big thumbs up. This is another part of our week 0 recap. Check out our other videos throughout the day as we recap everything that happened in week 0, and week 1 previews start tomorrow. So make sure to tune in and check those out as well. But subscribe now, man. Join the Blue Bloods. That way we can give y'all daily and the best college football content out here on YouTube right now. But guys, for right now, for the Blue Bloods, we are out.